The playful opening disclaimer. When audiences first watched the film, they were welcomed by the unusual phrase, "Most of what follows is true." This line was more than clever wording. It was screenwriter William Goldman's humorous way of admitting that the story would combine fact with invention. The statement immediately shaped audience expectations, signaling that the film was inspired by real individuals but presented through dramatic storytelling. This approach reflected the changing style of westerns during the 1960s, when filmmakers began blending traditional themes with irony and modern tone. By openly acknowledging its mix of truth and creativity, the film encouraged viewers to enjoy the legend itself rather than question every detail. Over time, this introduction became one of the movie's defining characteristics, creating a subtle connection between the filmmakers and the audience, and reinforcing the idea that memorable legends are built on storytelling as much as history. The unexpected role reversal. Today, the pairing of Paul Newman and Robert Redford seems perfectly matched, but originally their roles were planned differently. Newman was first considered for the Sundance Kid, while Redford was being evaluated for Butch Cassidy. The change occurred later in the casting process and ultimately reshaped both of their careers. Newman's natural charm and playful personality aligned perfectly with Butch's clever and humorous character, while Redford's calm confidence and intensity made him ideal for Sundance. This adjustment created a powerful contrast between the two characters and helped establish one of the most memorable partnerships in film history. Redford's performance especially elevated his status in Hollywood, transforming him into a major star and strengthening the film's lasting impact. The gang name change. Many viewers assumed the gang's name in the film was selected purely for authenticity, but the decision was influenced by timing. Historically, the real group was often connected to the Wild Bunch, and the screenplay originally used that name. However, another Western released in 1969 featured the same title, creating the risk of confusion and direct comparison. To avoid this, director George Roy Hill and the production team adopted the name Hole-in-the-Wall Gang instead. This choice still reflected genuine outlaw history, referencing the Wyoming hideout where the real group often stayed. The change allowed the film to remain connected to historical roots while maintaining its own distinct identity. The bull that became a scene stealer. One of the film's most charming moments, a peaceful bicycle ride interrupted by a charging bull, required careful planning. The animal, known as Bill, was not a local farm animal, but was transported from Los Angeles to Utah specifically for filming. Getting the bull to react at the right moment proved challenging, as animals do not naturally respond to film direction. The crew used methods common at the time to provoke movement and create the desired dramatic effect. Bill's sudden charge added energy and surprise to the sequence, turning an ordinary romantic moment into a memorable blend of humor and chaos. The scene became iconic partly because of this unexpected interruption. Newman's commitment to performing his own stunts. The bicycle sequence stands out for its warmth and playful tone, and much of that authenticity came from Newman's personal involvement. Rather than relying entirely on stunt doubles, he performed most of the riding himself. His coordination and confidence brought realism and spontaneity to the scene. Only one especially difficult crash required professional stunt assistance. Newman's willingness to participate directly helped audiences feel more connected to his character and enhanced the film's emotional charm. The famous song that almost disappeared. The song, "Raindrops Keep Fallin' on My Head," composed by Burt Bacharach, became inseparable from the film's identity. However, early test audiences were unsure about its inclusion. The modern pop style seemed unusual for a Western setting, and some studio leaders considered removing it entirely. Director George Roy Hill strongly defended the decision, believing the contrast added uniqueness and emotional depth. His confidence was rewarded when the song became a major success, winning the Academy Award for Best Original Song and achieving worldwide popularity. Its inclusion helped define the film's tone, blending traditional Western storytelling with modern creativity. Newman and Redford faced real danger in the water. One of the film's most exciting scenes shows the outlaws jumping from a cliff into a fast-moving river to escape capture. What viewers may not realize is that Paul Newman and Robert Redford chose to perform much of this stunt themselves instead of leaving it entirely to stunt doubles. This decision brought genuine danger. The current was stronger than anticipated, tugging at them when they hit the water. Rescue crews were present, but for several tense moments, there was real concern they could be carried away by the river. Studio insurers and officials had advised against their involvement, but the actors wanted the realism of doing it personally. Their commitment added authenticity to the moment, making the leap, the struggle, and their effort feel real. That dedication helped turn the scene into one of the most memorable sequences in Western film history. DNA testing cast doubt on the Bolivian ending. For many years, the gunfight in Bolivia was believed to be the definitive conclusion of their story. However, modern science complicated that assumption. In 1991, investigators examined graves in San Vicente believed to contain the famous outlaws. Researchers compared remains with living relatives in hopes of finally confirming their identities. The results were inconclusive. The evidence failed to definitively connect the remains to the outlaws, raising questions about whether the correct graves had even been found. Poor record-keeping, shifting burial sites, and conflicting oral histories created uncertainty. What once seemed like a clear ending became open to interpretation. Rather than weakening the legend, the lack of certainty strengthened it, leaving open the possibility that their true fate remains unknown. The title was reversed before release. Early in development, the project was known as the Sundance Kid and Butch Cassidy. This reflected the growing popularity of the Sundance character and Redford's rising career. As release approached, the order was changed. Because Newman was already a major box office star, placing his character first strengthened marketing appeal. It also aligned with the story, where Butch often leads the action and dialogue. This seemingly small change influenced how audiences perceived the duo. The final title became inseparable from the film's identity, while the original version remained only in early production stages. Kid Cure's dangerous reputation was softened. Among their associates, Kid Cure was considered the most feared. Historical accounts describe him as unpredictable and extremely dangerous. While the film emphasized humor and clever escapes, real history shows Cure's involvement in violent confrontations. His reputation contrasted sharply with Butch Cassidy's image as someone who often tried to avoid unnecessary bloodshed. By downplaying Cure's brutality, the film maintained a lighter tone. This creative decision highlighted the difference between historical reality and cinematic storytelling. Goldman's years of dedication to the script. Screenwriter William Goldman spent 6 years developing the screenplay. He researched historical records, studied newspaper accounts, and refined dialogue to feel authentic. His goal was not just accuracy, but to create believable personalities. His persistence paid off when the screenplay became highly sought after in Hollywood. Its unique blend of Western storytelling and character-driven humor helped Goldman earn an Academy Award and cemented the script's reputation as one of the finest ever written. Audiences connected with rebellious heroes. During the late 1960s, social attitudes were shifting, and audiences were drawn to unconventional heroes. Rather than portraying outlaws as purely villainous, the film presented them as intelligent, humorous, and human. Their loyalty and rebellious spirit reflected the cultural mood of the era. This approach helped audiences emotionally connect with them. Instead of fearing the characters, viewers admired their wit and independence. The film arrived at the perfect time, capturing the spirit of a changing society. Recognition from the Library of Congress. Decades later, the film received lasting recognition when it was added to the National Film Registry in 2003. This honor, awarded by the Library of Congress, protects films considered culturally or historically significant. The selection confirmed its lasting impact and ensured its preservation for future generations. Recognition by the American Film Institute. The American Film Institute also ranked the film among the greatest ever made. Its praise focused on the film's storytelling, memorable dialogue, and the chemistry between its lead actors. These honors reinforced its status as a defining achievement in American cinema. Joanna Pettit almost played Etta Place. Before Catherine Ross was cast, actress Joanna Pettit was strongly considered for the role. However, she declined due to pregnancy. Ross's performance ultimately brought emotional depth and balance to the story. The real Etta Place remains mysterious. Historically, Etta Place remains one of the most mysterious figures connected to the outlaws. Records about her life are scarce, and her fate remains uncertain. This mystery adds depth to her legend and enhances the film's storytelling. A missing line was restored decades later. One memorable line spoken near the ending disappeared from many releases for decades. It was finally restored in a later version, delighting fans who remembered it from the original theatrical release. Legends of hidden treasure persist. Stories continue to circulate that Butch Cassidy buried stolen money before fleeing. Although no treasure has been found, the idea adds intrigue to his legend. The origin of the name Butch Cassidy. Born Robert Parker, he earned the nickname Butch while working in a butcher shop. He later adopted the surname Cassidy from a mentor. His early life was deeply religious. He grew up in a devout Mormon household, making his later outlaw life even more surprising. He was known for avoiding violence. Unlike many outlaws, Cassidy often tried to complete robberies without harming anyone. This reputation contributed to his folk hero image. The sepia opening created historical atmosphere. The film begins with sepia-tone visuals, creating the impression of historical footage before transitioning to full color. They lived quietly in Argentina. At one point, the outlaws attempted to live peacefully as ranchers in Argentina before returning to crime. The film blends fact and legend intentionally. The movie balances historical inspiration with creative storytelling, emphasizing character and emotion. Newman's charitable legacy continued the story's spirit. Inspired by the outlaw gang's name, Newman founded the Hole in the Wall gang camp in 1988. The organization provides joy and support to seriously ill children and continues to operate today.